Thanks, Elisa, for having me. I'm just going to start out before we jump into it, everybody. I'm really thankful to be invited to speak with you. I want to get some things out of the way right up front. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to sell anyone on anything. I am very much a strong believer in what I have to talk about today. I also have some time near the end where we're going to take a look through a couple websites so I can give you a little bit of practical insight too on the types of things we're talking about today. And I'm super available. So if anyone wants to reach out to me at any time afterwards, my information's at the end. I take calls all week that people just want to pick my brain. It's never an issue. I'm happy to do it. The cornerstone of what I do with Romain Berg is developing valuable relationships. So I see everyone in here as a potential to be a valuable relationship with me in the organization. And I absolutely welcome you reaching out to me, whether it's on LinkedIn, shooting me an email, what have you. I also want to get it out of the way that I am the least technical employee of Romain Berg. A big part of what I do is having these conversations and giving a very human perspective, a very relatable perspective on the things we do, and just some of the concepts that get rolled out in digital marketing. I know a lot of people in the industry can be very tech heavy when they speak, and it tends to lose people, me included sometimes. And it's nice to have a little bit of a different take on it and showing you from a human perspective what some of these efforts actually accomplish. It's all well and good to see the numbers going up on a screen. Sometimes it's nice to know why we do these things and what the actual purpose and effect on your business is. So we'll jump into that now. I am the director of partnerships for Romain Berg. Like I said, great to be here. And we can get into becoming an authority and using digital marketing strategies for your manufacturing business. So the things I'm going to go through, we're going to do about 25 minutes ish on 3 key takeaways that I like to have this conversation with when I get the chance: the importance of authority, becoming a leader, being in the conversation. These are the 3 kind of key parts of what digital marketing, when it's done effectively, will do for your business. Afterwards, we're going to jump into a live audit. I've got one queued up from a business that isn't a colleague of the association, so I don't put anyone right out in the daylight. I don't. And then afterwards, I'll definitely have some time that if anyone wants to volunteer their website, I can do a live audit on their website. If not, I have the members directory open, so maybe we'll just find one in there. And then I've got some time at the end for a quick Q&A. If anyone has any questions, by all means, throw them in the chat. We'll get through as many of them as we can on conclusion. So before we get into the key points, what we call authority. Now, authority is one of those words that can be a little bit vague. I'm not going to, do a Webster's dictionary thing here. You guys are all competent business owners. I trust in your ability to understand these things. But when we talk about authority, we talk about it as being a key principle of persuasion. A big part of marketing in any facet is making sure that the people who are engaging with your business and your brand, there's always a certain level of persuasion there. You need them to know that you're the brand to go to, that you're the most trustworthy entity in the space, and that when you speak, they know what you're saying is the right thing. The reason it's a key principle is that if you're seen as an authority, you're far more likely to, again, have that inherent trust. It makes you the expert. The 3 things that we find make an expert, it actually is pretty simple. It's exposure, it's frequency, it's due diligence. So we'll get into a little bit what those mean to us and kind of how to roll them out and how to practically apply these principles to your business. So the importance of authority. This is actually the 6 principles of persuasion. These are kind of the foundational things that we lean on 100% of the time for marketing. And I've gone through and explained a little bit why authority and one of its counterparts are the most important when it comes to the B2B digital industry specifically. So that's business to business commerce, what the manufacturing largely is. You have authority and you have consistency. Authority is obviously becoming that expert. Consistency is showing up with a high degree of frequency. If you are always showing up as a trusted voice, you are much more likely to be considered. How you go about doing that now is actually not as complicated as a lot of people think. Some of the other key principles of persuasion that we do like to talk about that we're going to skip over in this, but it's worth mentioning them. Things like reciprocity, being able to lead with value in conversations, scarcity, ensuring that what you do isn't everywhere, being able to relate to your clients, that's liking and consensus, having a large group of people who will back up what you do and the efficiency of how you do it. Those things are all hard to control because there's a lot of external factors. The reason why we drill down on authority and consistency is because those two things specifically are almost entirely under your control as a business owner. So when it comes to digital marketing specifically, authority is generally held up by three activities. So presentation in digital marketing being your website. When you talk about a website in digital marketing, we look at three things specifically. Performance, making sure that the website functions well. A lot of that can be done on your own if you're motivated to find the information that exists out in the world. There's really no secrets in this industry anymore. If you're motivated to go try and learn how to build a good, solid performing website, the information's all there and most of it's free. If you are at the point in your business where you're just far too busy to have to go and digest all that information, that's when you can go and engage a third party. As far as the second thing after performance, we have user interface, just again, how easy it is for a person to get around your site, and user experience, kind of their takeaway when they leave your site, how they felt about being there. We have tons of data that shows if someone leaves your site frustrated because it wasn't easy to navigate, they're not coming back. It's one of those things where that first impression will last perpetually. The second big thing when it comes to authority in digital marketing is content. Content's a little bit of a loaded word. I find that content has been very much plugged with social media in the modern business world, especially with online. When I say content, that's not what I mean. Social media can absolutely be a part of a content strategy. But what I mean when I say content is, are you putting out compelling insights related to your business and related to your industry? Are you a consistent voice that people can trust when it comes to researching what you do? Not necessarily your business specifically, but the part of the industry that you serve. And then the third is exposure. So exposure is finding other authorities in the space and showing them why they should be agreeing with your insights. So what this ends up coming up as is industry publications, any kind of time you can find another person who is industry adjacent to you, someone who has a product that maybe doesn't compete with yours directly, but complements what your offering is. And they actually use your insights as value to their clients. That's what exposure is. Exposure is making sure that as many other people who are also seen as authorities are agreeing with you in a public way. Practically, what this all looks like is a great website that functions really, really well. Regular insights and content that are going out, either to publications, social media, what have you, that are well written and well informed. That's where the due diligence part comes in. And the exposure are other authorities and other businesses agreeing with those insights that you're putting out on a regular basis. Before I get into the next one, I can completely understand anyone listening right now. You go like, oh my God, this guy wants me to start writing articles. It's one of those things where it helps, but I can tell you with confidence that even just finding events to go and share your insights that are gathered from your experience in business are valuable. The more exposure you and your brand get with your learned wisdom, it's good for your business. People will start seeing you as an authority because you're present. So many people shy away from getting in front of the camera or getting in front of people or going to offline events, that when you are one of the people who is showing up all the time and you have valuable things to say, you just become synonymous with being the authority in that space. So moving on, we have becoming a leader. And this is kind of what I was just getting at. What does it mean to become a leader in your space? Well, realistically, again, it's just getting exposure on you personally. So this reinforces all your digital marketing efforts. Attending live events is something that obviously has been more difficult because we've spent a couple years not knowing whether or not we can go outside. I don't know if Elisa said this, but I'm in Canada. We had basically 2 full years of pretty extreme lockdowns. So a lot of people had to get really comfortable with working online and doing these online events. But now that things are opening back up, I've actually found that there's advantage to be taken in all the people that got too comfortable doing online networking and online exposure for their business. And there's far fewer people doing offline events. Offline events are an amazing supplement to digital marketing, because what it does is it creates a person and a persona with your business that's now associated with all the digital marketing efforts that go out. The second you can humanize your business in the eyes of the people you're trying to reach is the second you have an edge on all of your competitors. The second thing, other than live events, industry publications. Once you start writing and once you start producing content or engage someone to do that for you, it's actually a lot easier than people would think to get what you have to say in industry publications. The more exposure you can get and the more frequency you can have getting into those types of things, the better it's going to be for your business. Again, people are going to trust you. You're the authority. You're the person they go and visit first. So the timeline of becoming that leader in the space, it's I love this timeline because it's actually very separate from any specific industry. This happens very similarly, regardless if it's business to business, regardless if it's manufacturing, regardless if it's retail. Generally, this model is followed as someone becomes a leader in their space. The first step is where the vast majority of businesses are and will always be, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone wants to pursue this, right? Because there's a certain amount of stepping outside your comfort zone, doing things you're not used to doing, and really doing things that become a little extracurricular to your business, that require moving on from this first step. So that first step is having a reliable offering. Everyone here has a business that's functioning, that they are working inside of, that they're making sure thrives. Everyone here has a reliable offering. So congratulations, you've all achieved the first step. Understanding the why of what's motivating the success in your business is a big part of that. And there's nothing, like I said, nothing wrong with being at this step and staying at this step. Lots of extraordinarily successful businesses never move past this because no one's motivated to move past this. That's okay. If you do make the decision to push past simply just having a solid and reliable offering, the first step after that is starting to share industry insights. The longer you are in your business, the longer that you exist within your industry, the more you'll have to say about it. And that goes for all of us. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, you spend years in it, you start to notice things. Most people don't realize that what they're noticing is valuable to the public at large. The rest of your industry is interested in hearing what other people are thinking, because it informs their business decisions, whether positive or negative. And not a lot of people are willing to do it. So when you start to put your insights out there and you start to make them publicly available, what you start doing is you start becoming a voice for the industry. You start becoming one of the places that people can go, that they can trust for insights and opinions on the industry you're in. Once you've been doing that for a little bit, or you hit a little bit of success in being a voice of insight in the industry, you move on to being an innovative thinker. And again, this is just time served. It doesn't matter, like Mendy said, manufacturing, retail, consulting. Once you've had some time in the industry, you start realizing, hey, wait a second, things could be better. I've implemented XYZ in my business. I've found success doing it. I know other people could implement this as well. I know they'd find success doing it. And this is when you start bringing new ideas to the table. It's really just an evolution of being an insightful industry expert who's bringing new ideas to the table and then giving them away. A lot of people get freaked out by that. I understand. But we are now in an era, especially of digital marketing, where the John D. Rockefeller strategy of burning your competitors' houses to the ground and building your business on the back of the ashes, it's winding down. It's not the best way to do business anymore. We are entering an era of collaboration, and the people who are rising to the top are the people who are willing to share their thought process to a certain extent, and they're willing to become the authority in their industry. So when you start to be that innovative thinker, you begin to disrupt the status quo. Anyone else who's coming to that thought process after the fact is actually following in the path that you've set for them, which evolves into the final thing, is being the model. Now, being the model is a extraordinary level of success for any business. It essentially, what you're doing is, when people who are new to your industry are coming in, they're looking to what you've done to get to where you are in order to set up what they want to do. That is an extraordinary position to be in. It sets you up for enormous amounts of success, because it's not just your business anymore that's thriving. It's people coming to you and actively seeking out your wisdom, wanting to know how to do better, how to start a business, and you can see that, again, not for everybody, but this is the progression of becoming an authority in the industry. If you are the person that is sought out on how to start a business in your industry, you will also be the person that the clients that exist out there come to when they want the most reliable standard of work, when they want the highest standard of care and quality. They're going to go to the person who appears to have the most authority in the space. So this authority building model, it takes time. It definitely takes a lot of commitment, but we've seen it time and time again that in all industries, the people who eventually become the model are the most successful. And that can be on a national scale. It can be on a regional scale. It doesn't really matter, because you can carve out your spot as the absolute authority on any geographical scale. And once you hit one, you can move up to the next. And speaking of that, one of the businesses we're going to take a live look at, once I'm kind of wound down here, they've found a lot of success, but I'm going to show you guys actually how there's still so much they could be doing to find even greater successes in their business. So the last step of all this, I call being in the conversation. Being in the conversation is an idea that came out from the reality that we all shop around. Doesn't matter what we're buying. We all do it. No one's ever going with the first option. They might go with the first option, but they're going to look for the second first. They're going to go, okay, well, what's the other option? They're going to weigh them out, and then they're going to make their choice. This happens so much more with business to business. Before I was in the marketing world, I ran a jewelry company. I did design and sourcing in that world. And I had 7 different workshops that I worked with. No one of those 7 workshops got all my business, because every single time I went through and weighed out all my options against one another to figure out what the best was for the specific job that I was working on. A lot of that had to do with the fact that none of them actually made an effort to be an authority in the industry. I had no more confidence in one than I did in another. So it came down to price and speed. And that was it. Because as far as I was concerned, I was going to get the same quality out of all of them. When you're in an industry without clear authorities, you are in that situation. You're in a situation where your clients, even long-term clients, are still going to poke around because they're with you because of price, speed, and because they're comfortable with the level of quality that you've been delivering them. The second you become an authority, this changes. Instead of flipping a coin and hoping that you're one of the 2 options a person boils down to, you're now creating a situation where you're always one of the 2 options a person has to choose from. Don't get me wrong, they're never just going to go with you because you're the authority. But what it will change is, instead of them deciding between 2 of your competitors, they're now always making a decision between one of your competitors and you. And you're going to be the benchmark. As the authority in a space, they're going to see what you're doing, what your insights are. They're going to see what your case studies are. They're going to see, because these are all very available. When they go searching, they find you over and over and over again. So then when they go and find a second option, because you were the most available authority in the space, the second option is always being compared against you. That second option will flux depending on a client's specific needs. Okay. But the beautiful thing about it is, the first option, the first person they found, the person they're comparing everyone else against, is going to be your business. And that, it ultimately is where you want to get to as the authority in a space. You want to be one of the 2 final options for every client that looks for what you do all the time. And that actually is not as extraordinarily complicated as it might sound. You put out great insights with a high frequency and make sure that you network with other people who will champion you. You will be the first choice. That's all it takes. Now it's a little bit time consuming, which is where, different organizations that support in the digital marketing world can come in and help out. But I don't ever want any business owner to think that it's beyond them doing, because it isn't. It just, when you have an organization that can help you out on the back end, there's a time efficiency thing that happens there. But absolutely, I know lots of business owners who do this for themselves, and I encourage them to give it a go, because if they have a high degree of understanding as to what's happening on that side of their business, they're actually going to be a lot more comfortable with their growth. And if they do decide to outsource it, they'll be able to have very informed conversations with the people they outsource it to. So I missed a slide. I appreciate everyone giving me a take on that, but I got talking there and didn't switch up. And it's just, again, it's that message of, you are always considered. Being in the conversation means that the obvious choices are always you and a close competitor. That more or less winds down the lecture part of this. We're going to do something a little bit more fun, because listen to me just go on a diatribe about this can be a little bit exhausting for people. I do encourage, before we move on, everyone to, again, shoot me an email, hit me up on, jump me on LinkedIn. Absolutely add me on LinkedIn. I am a super accessible person. I love meeting business owners. It's a huge passion of mine to find out about what people are doing, how they're doing it, and where they're finding their success. I am an open book. I have no secrets. I'm happy to share everything I know with any one of you. So I've left that up for a bit. You can grab a screenshot if you want. I'm sure that it'll be distributed after the fact if you'd like to get a hold of me. And what I'd actually want to do now is take a look at someone in this space and give you guys some actual practical hands-on look at what a high performer looks like and what opportunities even someone who has a ton of traffic is missing out on a constant basis. So I picked Fast Radius because obviously they're in the manufacturing space, but they're not in the association. Like I said, I did not want to put too much daylight on anyone who didn't want it on them. So I did pick these guys for that reason. When we look at a company like Fast Radius, if we were to work with them, I'm just going to show you kind of what we would look at. So first off, there's the general just look at the website and just what we're seeing, things like assets, making sure all the copywriting looks really good. And you can see from just scanning over this website, the website's a good website. It looks great. There's little things that even in scanning, the fact that you see things like the UPS logo, a lot of people aren't reading this other side over here, but they are seeing the UPS logo and they're going, oh, okay, these guys work with UPS. That's a big business. That's a good thing. When they go through, they're seeing what we call social proof. So this is testimonials from customers that are very front and center. They're being very promoted, businesses they're working with. These are all fantastic things to be on a website. You know, they're championing what their achievements are as far as their capacity. Like they're painting a picture of a very high competency company that a lot of large other businesses are willing to work with. This is right there. We've started the authority building right on their homepage. Now, if we go into what they could be doing better, which there's things they could be doing better, we go into this tool here. So this is a tool that we use here at Romain Berg. It's called Web Dev. It's run by Google, so it's not a tool of ours. It's completely how Google sees websites. And we can actually see that even a website like Fast Radius, that's in all intents and purposes gorgeous. Tons of opportunities here. So these scores here are how Google looks at your site and decides to promote it to people who are looking for what they do or what you do. When you don't see any green, it means they are rich with opportunities. Let's just say that. They've got lots of space to improve, especially on the performance. Now, Fast Radius might be getting away with this because they've got a pretty decent following. They've got a lot of traffic to their site. But especially when you don't have a ton of traffic to your site and you're trying to push more traffic, low performance scores will drastically affect how long people want to stick around on your website for. If your website is the primary way that people are getting engaging with your brand and business and they're learning about you, poor performance on a website will cause more than half the people who come to leave before they learn anything about you. It can be one of the biggest killers for a business is just poor performance. The rest of these things are all a little less human, but they will affect the way Google promotes your business. And again, if you're trying to build that authority and you're trying to be the most trustworthy person in the space, you need to be constantly visible. So making Google like your website is actually a big part of that authority building process, because then you're the one showing up when people are searching terms relevant to your industry. In saying that, I'm going to show you the other part of what we use. This is a little bit of a Wizard of Oz behind the curtain moment here. This is all the analytics that we kind of start with when we're looking at a company. So I've already got Fast Radius pulled up here. We can see things like their search traffic. We can see, so this is how many people that are searching, are finding them every month. We can see how many places on the internet are pointing back to Fast Radius. There's about 35,000 other spots on the internet that are pointing back to Fast Radius. That's that exposure I was talking about. Other authorities agreeing with what you're saying and what you're doing. We can see their traffic. We can see that clearly they have been pouring a lot of effort into building their traffic. They've gone from, when did it look like they really started going for it? Probably about here. So November of 2020, they were 3,200 people a month. And as far as traffic goes, as of this past summer, they had 36,000 monthly traffic. So they've 10x'd their traffic in about a year and a half. Now, right now, it looks like they've got a little bit of a downturn. That could be an economy thing. That could also be there's something wrong with their website. But definitely, when you crack into it a little bit more, you can figure that out. You can actually pinpoint exactly why a traffic problem would be, because if Google doesn't like promoting their website, things like this will happen. And then as far as actually creating the authority for them, this is where we look at keywords. So let's take a look at keywords here for a second. So I'm actually going to do, just give it a second. I've got an East Coast Atlantic Ocean internet connection, so sometimes it doesn't want to play nice with me. Just give this. Ooh. Okay, this is what I want to show you guys. So what this is showing here is actually, let's do US. Sorry, it defaulted to Canada because that's where I am. So we'll make sure that we're showing, so make it relevant for you guys. Here we are. So this is showing all of the search terms that Fast Radius will show up as number one for. And the way they're showing up for number one for these search terms is because they have created some content that's shown that they're an authority. So people have started to seek out the content. They found other places online that agree with their insight and point back to whatever the page may be. It looks like a lot of these are blog posts, resource blog posts on their website, things about specific topics. And so if we look down here in this column here, we can actually see the monthly search volume. And so things like aluminum alloy for machining, there's 210 people that look for that every month in the US. And Fast Radius is going to come up as number one. Some of the other ones, we have 260 people for PC/ABS. Fast Radius is going to come up as number one. Let's see if I can find a bigger one. 4.4 thousand. So 4,400 people are, well, that's their branded one. So I'll skip that. But again, like 210 on injection molding defects, they're showing up as number one because they had insights on specifically injection molding defects. And you can all see how this ends up playing out. The number of topics that they're ranking number one for in the US on Google is pretty substantial. Not only that, but when I see things like this, they moved from 8 to 1 in fillet versus chamfer. They moved from 6 to 1 in photopolymers. So not only have they reached number one in a lot of these categories, but they're actively putting out new content, which is what I was saying before with frequency, in order to find new terms. So someone went and realized that they were 8th in fillet versus chamfer, that there's 390 searches a month for that specific term. And they went, wait a second, we could be number one for that. Let's put out some content on fillet versus chamfer. And in 1 month, they went from 8 to 1. So now instead of being at the bottom of the first page of Google for that term, they're at the top. And our data shows that 40-ish% will never make it past the first search term. So when they search, they're just going to click on the first result. So they're getting 40% of these 390 people click on them before they ever even look somewhere else. Same with photopolymers. 40% of these 320 people are clicking on them before they even look somewhere else. And that's what we mean about building the authority. When you build the authority in all these various little topics, you start to get a lot more traffic pointed to your website. Now, a single piece of content could hit a ton of these different terms. And that's, again, it comes into optimizing the content and making sure that it's speaking on the things that you want people to find you for. Again, there's no secrets in that. It just requires research and a little bit of understanding. Something that there's lots of places that can help you with that, Romain Berg included, but it's definitely something that anyone can do research on and figure out on their own. SEMrush, the tool I'm using right now, is not a private tool. It is a paid tool, but anyone can use it. So that kind of shows you what I mean by topic authority and creating content in order to be the first result. You can see that as a result, Fast Radius is getting a ton of search traffic because they've made themselves an authority in a bunch of different topics. So that's why they're enjoying the massive amount of traffic to their site that they're enjoying. So it looks like we're coming up to the 40-minute mark here. If anyone has a site of theirs that they want me to kind of do a quick touch base on, peel back on the performance, peel back on keyword opportunities, basically things that are being searched that would be relevant to that business, I'm more than happy to jump into that and kind of show everyone what that looks like. If not, I can kind of open it up to general questions. Yeah, I'll just give it a second, see if anyone has anything. Just while you do that, I'm going to take a look at a couple more things here, see if I can pull out any other neat little things that we have access to here with this tool we like to use. Oh, that's embarrassing. This is what happens when you got a big team. Sometimes you have to pause somebody out of using a tool. So beautiful. Thanks, Robert. I'll open that up right now. Let's take a look. All good. All right. So we're going to open this up here, and then we're going to get this very annoying little taskbar at the top out of my way here. Let's do that. And we will put this in here. Search. So first off, just looking at the site, this is well done. So great job on the site. There's definitely, being able to see what we call a hero image right up front. We're seeing people who work on site. We see, again, like what I was seeing with Fast Radius, being very clear about what it is you do. These are all super important, makes for a great homepage. I'm not going to dive into the sub menu here, but I do love that you have a big get in touch button right up top. If I had to give any piece of tangible advice for this homepage, is honestly, I'd have something that you can get in touch with your team right on the homepage, because sometimes people know they want to work with you and they find your site and they just want to reach out right away. Give people that opportunity. As far as the actual analytics, let's see what we can see. I'm curious. Now we are doing this live, so if there's any little errors or anything, I do apologize, but I can't account for Google's tools giving me, batting 100% sometimes. Sometimes I got to run it a couple times to make sure it all functions the right way. So I see, does paid ads with Google help get higher ranked? So yeah, Jason, it does. There is two different ways Google will display results. You'll have your organic search results. You'll have your paid search results. So if you ever go and you Google something, you'll see the first couple, it'll actually say ad beside them. Those are your paid search results. And if you're running a good solid ad campaign, you can absolutely get above the organic search results, but you're paying for that spot. So what I'm talking about when it comes down to authority is how to basically top out on the organic search results, which is, being able to do it not just by throwing money at the problem in ad spend, but also by getting to the top of that organic search while also becoming a trusted voice in the industry. So it kind of deals on two fronts. So we've got the web dev open here for Robert, and we've got a pretty good picture here. We've got a pretty good snapshot. Obviously, there's definitely some things with performance that could be fixed up. When we look at what exactly those are, it looks like the things that are really kind of pulling the score down is how quickly the site becomes available to somebody who's looking for the site. So when it says first contentful paint, you're getting about 3 seconds before you start loading up the assets on the site. Time to interactive is 9 seconds. So that's the time from the person hits your site to the time they can actually start interacting with the site, click through menus and whatnot. These numbers, the reason they flag them as red is all based on data. So typically, if someone has longer than 3 seconds and a site's not popping up in that, like shorter than that amount of time, you've got about a 50-50 chance of them just leaving. Now you can say what you want about attention spans in the modern era, but that's kind of what all the data supports is if someone's not able to really see what's going on in 3 seconds, you've got a coin flip chance that they might just leave. Other than that, honestly though, the site's pretty good. Like I wouldn't call this bad. I would just not call it great. The fact that your best practice is in SEO or a perfect green 100, that's fantastic. It means that whoever is taking a look at it is doing a lot of the right things, not doing all the right things, but they're doing a lot of the right things. Let's take a look at the juicy part over here. So if I go all time, so it looks like you've had a couple really solid uptrends, a little bit of a dip over the last year, just in 2022. That looks like it might be on the recovery right now. Okay. Let's take a look at what people are searching when they find you. And then I'll even give you a couple ones that you could look out for, some low-hanging fruit here. Okay, just give this a second to load up. Awesome. I see Sam is in the chat doing some answering as well. Sam is our Chief Strategy Officer at Romain Berg and definitely has a ton of valuable technical insight that he can put on as well. As far as looking for opportunities, looks like you guys are, you're ranking number one. Is your homepage ranking number one for, some things that you're definitely going to want to be ranking number one for, metalcraft being one of them. So that's fantastic. When I look here at opportunities though, you do see things like Riverside Metal. When I look over here, I see, there's 260 searches a month. And this is actually a snapshot of the difficulty of how much competition there is to rank number one for that term. So when I see a 39, I know that somebody making a focused effort on ranking number one for the term Riverside Metal could get to number one in Riverside Metal probably within a couple months. That just tells me that no one's making a real effort to be number one there. It's probably whoever is number one is there organically and they're not focused on it. This is another one here, Craft Machine. So being number 16 means you're on the second page of Google. Most people never make it to the second page of Google. And as you can see, you're not getting a lot of that traffic, which would be expected. But again, lower keyword difficulty. 1,300 people a month punching that search keyword into Google. Definitely a search term that could be number one within a couple months with some focused effort and a little bit of content creation. There's another one here, Northwest Metalcraft. This is the third page of Google. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, right? We look at these terms, and when you start optimizing content for these terms, you go from 29 to 1 in a couple months. You go from 8 to 1 in a couple months. Even these ones that are a little bit, that would be worth it. Even these ones like this, Steelcraft, a little bit more difficult, still very doable if you know what you're doing as far as creating content. 2,900 people a month. Number one is getting 40% of that. So you can see that when you start to stack these strategies a little bit, your traffic right there with those 3 keywords could double just by being number one in those 3 terms that I just pointed out. And that's really with when you have somebody looking through content strategy and kind of what it's going to take to get you to the top of those search terms. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at what are people looking for, and then how do we make you an authority in that. And it's just by putting out good, solid content people want to read that contain those terms. That's truly what it boils down to. I see one more here. Messer repair. Yeah, let's take a look at that. We are kind of winding down into the last 10. I'm going to keep an eye on chat in case there's any general questions. Now that I know Sam's in there, I know that he'll be eager to shoot out any answers as well. So if there's any, like, especially super technical questions, if you want to blast them out in chat, Sam will be able to answer those as well. I'm happy he's here. Okay, Messer repair. So I'm going to be, with this site, this immediately looks like an e-commerce site, which is probably the intention. And there's nothing wrong with immediately looking like an e-commerce site if that's your only goal. Now, what I will say is having these hero images and knowing what your clients are looking for and making sure they see them right away is a great way to keep them on the site. But as you move down, you know what? This is pretty good. There's definitely some spots where you could probably talk about the types of businesses you work with. If someone's willing to give you a little bit of what we call social proof and having those testimonials, making it know that there's other people who buy your products and that there's a name and face and business name attached to them. You know, going and finding your clients who are really your biggest fans and asking them to be publicly available as your biggest fans. I would recommend doing that all day, especially for an e-commerce site. When you sell things online, people want to know who else is buying from you and why they're going about it. That's fantastic. So it looks like Sam's got some insights there. That's good. So as far as our performance, again, taking a look, tons of opportunities here. This, I'm not super surprised about this just because you do have quite a bit going on the homepage. There's lots of images. There's lots going on this homepage. It's probably just not optimized. You've probably not, yeah. So it's probably just not optimized for the way the picture's up. They might be too big. There's lots of reasons that performance score could be as low as it is. But what's happening is, again, your time to interactive being at 18 seconds, total blocking time being that long, first contentful paint being 4 seconds. You're probably getting people on the website, especially on mobile, who are getting onto the site and then leaving before they can really be impactful and interact with your site. As far as best practices in SEO, there's definitely room to improve there. Those are those behind the scene things that'll improve the way Google wants to display your site to people who are looking for you. Let's take a look at some opportunities here. So it actually looks like that one is really good. What Sam just pointed out there being the bale spear. There's when you really start to dig into these terms, you'll start to find more and more, like even things like off-road dump trailer, like being number one in that. That's what I would call a high intent search. If someone is Googling off-road dump trailer, they're probably not looking for um, information about off-road dump trailers. They're probably looking because they're interested in purchasing an off-road dump trailer. So being number one in that is going to be fantastic. Again, you look at this, there's 320 people a month searching for it. Very easy keyword to rank for. You're at number one within a couple months. You're getting that traffic now. You're the first person they're looking at. Yeah, there's a lot of these actually that would be really impactful for you. Snow bucket is one, super easy to rank for. Manure bucket. And these are all terms too that are going to be terms that people are searching because they want to buy it. There's not a lot of people out there searching manure bucket just because they're curious about manure buckets. So it's definitely one of those things where, again, if you look into focusing some content around those things and you become that number one voice for that search, when people have that intent to buy, they're like, I need this for my operation. You're going to be the first person to show up. And even if they go and look at a second option, they're now comparing it against the first option, which was you. So I think we're in the last 5 minutes here. I can definitely take any more questions. Looks like Sam's tackling a couple in the chat too, which is fantastic. If not, like I said, I'm super available to anybody who wants to reach out. Our team is amazing. I lean on my team enormously. They are almost unanimously all smarter than I am. So I am very blessed to have such a fantastic group of people that I work with, and I'm able to pull all their knowledge out and share it with the world. We have no secrets. We work with tons of manufacturers. We work with people in the data industry, and we work with e-com stores. Like, we just love seeing people succeed. That's why we work with them. People who don't want to do it, we don't work with. We're passionate about business owners. That's why we do what we do. And that's why I'll have a conversation with anyone. It's not on the clock. There's no bill. I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to chat. But yeah, no, if that's kind of what we're doing for today, we can wind it down. I'll pass it back over to Elisa. I really appreciate everyone coming out and listening to me ramble for an hour. And hopefully, I can get a chance to chat with some of you soon. I actually am going to be out in the Minneapolis to St. Cloud area end of November. If any of you, reach out to me, I'm happy to stop in. Sam and I could stop in, say hi, take a look at the business. I love seeing how businesses are run, boots on the ground. But yeah, it was fantastic. And I really appreciate you guys having me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Gensen. And thanks to Romain Berg for just a great presentation today as well. So just a reminder to everybody, we have our manufacturing or marketing for manufacturing webinar series every month. So we look forward to seeing you all again. And I will send a link out with the recording to everybody that registered today. So thanks again, Gensen, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.